Today, we're going to be learning how to factor by grouping when we have 4 terms. So our objective is that we will be able to factor polynomials with 4 terms by grouping. So our steps. The first step is to factor out the GCF if possible. Not everything is going to have a GCF, so sometimes we won't be able to factor it out. Then we're going to group the first 2 terms and the second 2 terms using parentheses. Then we're going to factor out the GCF from each pair. The GCF from each pair becomes one of the factors, and the matching parentheses is the other factor. So let's put this into action. So here's our first polynomial. There's nothing that all of them have in common. So we're going to move on to step 2 and group the first 2 terms and group the second 2 terms. The first 2 have a GCF of x squared, so we're going to divide that out and factor it out. So we'd have x squared and be left with x plus 2. The second 2 terms have a 3 in common, so we're going to take out the 3. So we're going to have positive 3 times x plus 2. The GCFs, x squared and plus 3, become one factor. And x plus 2, since see how these parentheses match, they are the other factor. So number 2, again, we don't have a GCF for all 4 terms, so we're going to group the first 2 and group the second 2. The first 2 share an x squared. We're going to factor that out. The second 2 are both divisible by 2, and because we want to end up with x plus 9 where they're both positive, we're also going to have to take out a negative from both terms. Then our GCFs become one factor, so x squared minus 2, and our matching parentheses are the other factor. Number 3, we almost have a GCF for everything, but because this is just an x, there's not a GCF this time. So we're going to group the first 2 and group the second 2. The first 2 have a 5x squared in common. We'd be left with x plus 5. And the only thing the second 2 have in common is a 1. And we'll be left with x plus 5. So our factors are 5x squared plus 1 and x plus 5. And our final example. If you notice, everything here is divisible by 2. So we're going to factor that out first. So we'll have 2 times 2x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 3. So now we're basically going to ignore this 2 out front and follow our other steps. So we're going to group the first 2 and the second two. These two have a 2x squared in common. These two have a 3 in common. So our factors would be 2x squared plus 3 and x plus 1. Now, before we're finished though, we're going to take this 2 that we took out originally and we're going to put it in front, parentheses all around. And then, because these are all in parentheses, we'll just put it out front. That's all for today. Fill out your summary and I'll see you in class.